pressing record. And this is a time, if everyone who has not welcomed themselves, this is the time for the next 1 minute to bring your voice to the space.
Hi, California.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Kay and Susanna. Hi, Devin. Hey, Annie and Callista. Okay. So this is a space that I just wanted to tell everyone that is being recorded to be published. So this is going to be published on, I guess, my YouTube channel. And so that other people can find out about the decontamination process. And so if you don't want to be filmed, I can edit this first part, but one of the things that you can do is just to remove your video from presenting yourself, and then so just your name will change. If you're not okay with having your name, you can change your name now. Okay. So most of you are here because of the study group, and there's some people who have probably not, don't have a lot of background about what is an ego state or what is a contaminated ego state and the process of decontamination. So I'm going to give a little bit of basics. We're going to give a little bit of basics, then answer some questions, and then explain the procedure of the decontamination. And then we're all going to kind of do it together. I'm going to start the process and then put you in pairs, even if it's not the pairs that you might already have a buddy for or a buddy with, to then just for you to get a sense of what is going to look like maybe, or could look like, your procedure, your connection with your buddy for this decontamination.
Yes, and to embody what we put on the table right now. So more than just your intellectual body can connect to what we talk about right now.
Yeah. So my name is Vera Franco. I'm a possibility management trainer and space holder for the Trainer Path in Brazil. And
my name is Sophia-Magdalena. I'm also a possibility trainer, and I'm space holder for the Trainer Path of Germany.
Yes. Okay. So part of this, you'd have to discover more deeply, maybe through the websites of egostate.mystrikingly.com. But the sense is that the main distinction is that we all have parts. You all have parts. And actually you have more parts than it says on the map of the ego states, but the map of the ego states that you can see on the website that I'm going to publish in the chat is that first of all, an ego state is a set of behaviors, attitudes, and kind of ways of modeling, like ways of doing things. And they're states because they're temporary. So we give this example a lot. Have you ever, or speaking to a friend at a cafe, and then some, like their boss or their parent or someone calls them and they change their voice into a completely different voice. They change their whole demeanor, their posture sometimes, and they go through the whole conversation. And then when they turn off, when they finish the call, they come back to the same voice that they were having with you. Has everyone ever experienced anything like this? Yeah. So that person slipped into another ego state.
And also into another identity. So some of the ego states we can possibly have are connected to some of our identities. Like the identities we transfer into when we talk with our parents, mostly are connected to one of our ego states.
Can you give an example of an identity?
Yes, there's the identity of a good girl and of the brave, loved good girl, which is always doing what you ask it to do. And this is connected to your child ego stage, and you can have it in front of your father.
Yeah. So that was, is there one of yours?
Yeah, actually, I had that too. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we're mainly presenting this because we've been through this process ourselves. So we're going to share basically everything that we know. And the idea is that we all can slip into the different ego states at any point, and we do that a lot during the day. And the more that you go through initiatory processes, go through the basic initiations that are not just in possibility management, but also exist in possibility management, the more grounded and anchored you are in your adult ego state. So the main ego states can be distinguished as the gremlin ego state, the child ego state, the parent ego state, and the demon ego state. These are the four main ones that have emotional reactivities attached to it. And then the adult ego state is an ego state that is about your feelings, the emotional sensations that are from the present. And that it's through the adult ego state that you can reach the archetypal domains. So as long as you are in a child ego state, you cannot access the archetypal domain, not consciously. You can do it by accident, but you cannot do it consciously. So
that's where the trick starts of the decontamination. So if your adult ego state is contaminated by one of the four different other ego states, it means that you as a person are not aware that something else than your adult is speaking right now. For example, you think, oh, I'm really adult and I'm talking to you, and actually it's my gremlin shouting at you, but I don't realize it. That's where the contamination starts. And if this contamination is up and alive, it makes it even harder to access the true adult, the adult ego state, and through that the archetypal area.
Yeah, so we realize that this contamination happens as a survival strategy, as a protection, and in growing up to mix some behaviors of your child ego state. Like your child ego state could be needy or scared or bratty. Could also be as a sweet, innocent child, but also could be the bratty. It's like, it's not fair, or it's too much, overwhelming. And so some of these behaviors get completely mixed, like completely locked in with adults. So when you're trying to make let's say a proposal to your boss or to someone that maybe could be seen as an external authority figure, it comes out with a certain energy or posture or even words or voice, or the voice that you use could be from your child. And so you don't come out as your full empowered adult. So one of the things that we started noticing is that the most common contaminations are gremlin and child. I've not met anyone yet that has parent. Have you worked with anyone with parent?
I have not worked, but I have met a person in where it was about to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it led there that it also started with the child, actually.
So the contamination can be very small in percentage, and or can be very big. If, for example, for gremlin contamination, if it's a lot, so it's in their 90s, this person will, it's almost like they don't have any problems. Like a 90%, 85% contamination, the person is okay all the time. They don't let any of the pain in, they don't let any of the intimacy in. And everything's a joke. Everything is laughable and so surreal. And so people with that level of contamination don't usually come to transformative spaces, but it also can happen.
Yeah, it's basically the life in a happy bubble. It's basically the life in a happy bubble, and that makes it very hard to access your own reality.
Yeah.
So excuse me, I got disconnected for a sec. Could you share a little bit? Yeah, I got disconnected right after the adult ego state, and then you had 90% of decontamination. Can you just share that piece, please? What you
Well,
were
yeah. Well, actually, if you have any questions about it afterwards, then I'll answer it. But I'm going to go through the kind of introduction and then explain the procedure. Okay, Michelle, and this is recorded, so you can also check it in later. But hold on to if you have a particular question. Okay. For me, what I had the most was the child enmeshment. So how it looked in me was I would become smaller. I used a different voice that was more like pleasant or nice or sweet. And this was used whenever I would have to present something or whenever I would have to be seen, whenever like an external authority figure would be around. And I didn't know that I had this. For me, it was it's my voice. It's how my voice is. This is how I am. I'm a nice person or whatever. And it took other people, it took other trainers and a feedback culture to tell me, hey, this is not the voice that I usually see you with, that I usually hear you with. So your buddy and the people around you will play an important part to recognize the different parts that you have. Because if you have a contaminated adult ego state, you will not notice it yourself because you're in it. Okay. A gremlin contamination, I also had about 20%. I had 70% contamination of a 69% of contamination of child, and I had about 28% of gremlin. And the way that my gremlin would come would be this, I would have to have a comeback. I have like everything that would happen when someone would challenge me or they would give me feedback. I have to wrestle. I had to like say something, and having not the last word, but I had to. It was a defense kind of thing, and for me, I couldn't tell that this was my contaminated adult because it was. I just thought, oh, this is just me trying to understand. So during this process of decontamination, one thing is really important. So you have to start refining the distinction that you have about your child ego state and what it looks like and your gremlin. So if anyone in this call or is watching this video does not have the distinction on gremlin, does not have your gremlin on a leash, does not have your 50 foods and started a feeding schedule, you will not be able to do the decontamination properly because you cannot see when you're fully in adult, fully in gremlin ego state, or when it's the contamination. Okay.
Yes, and what is also it's kind of an add on top of this, why it is important to really distinguish between your and your gremlin is that if you have an enmeshed child or a gremlin, it's quite likely that in the end, when you go to the course, like to the rest, what is decontaminated, that a part of your gremlin decontamination is owned from your child. It means that whole thing can be meshed into each other. And
does that mean that if you can't, what you're saying is that the danger is that you can't distinguish the gremlin contamination and the child contamination?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that part of the child contamination owns a part of your gremlin, which is then a part of your gremlin, which you has been using as a child and not part of the contamination.
Okay.
Could you repeat that, please?
That was a bit. So, okay, can I explain it in another way?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So your gremlin is an incredible source of nonlinearity. It finds loopholes everywhere. and it can use behaviors of your child ego state or your parent ego state. It doesn't have, your gremlin doesn't have walls. So it can go into any of the other ego states, other identities, even use some behaviors of archetypal identity, fake archetypal identity, and use it as a weapon, or use it to create whatever, destroy or sabotage. So that's kind of a advanced distinction, but just is to start noticing, the first skill is to start noticing, where am I in the child? What does my child look like? What does my gremlin look like? What does it like? How to figure out what I call the energetic signature of your gremlin and the energetic signature of your child.
And why I brought this up also is, if you have no clue, if you are in front of one of your patterns or one of your behaviors and you have no clue, you're like, I don't know if that's the child or the gremlin or what is it? Don't worry. Really, don't worry. It will come up by time.
Yeah.
It will come up by time, by going through that whole process. So it might happen. That's why I brought it up. It might happen that the parts of you will try to stop you from doing it because there's confusion coming in about what is what.
Okay. So for me, one of the important aspects of what Sophia-Magdalena just said is in this decontamination process, we work with one behavior at a time. And this is so important because so many people that I worked with in the decontamination, they want to do everything. I also have this one, and I also have that one. And it's this, as soon as it arises, the person wants to change it immediately. And what you lose is this tracking to, you have to become gremlin trackers. You have to become ego state trackers to fully identify. Because if you start changing, you're already trying to change the behavior and you lose that tracking connection. So we work with one behavior at a time, one attitude, and we do it until it doesn't show up. So this is why the process is very, very simple, but it can take a bit of time. But if you start mixing them, then, for example, with the gremlin, particularly, the gremlin would use one behavior, then would use another, and then use another, and you think you've worked with one, and then just wait, I don't know, 4 months, and that first one comes back. So it actually takes, if you wanted this process to take 5 years, do more than one at the same time.
And beside the gremlin part, it's also the child who will be overwhelmed by doing more than one. And it can happen then your child kind of makes himself small and doesn't show up anymore. But as Vera just said, in a bit of while, in some month, it comes back. And then you can start over. So first of all, if you want to know more of how your ego states look like, go to egostate.mystrikingly.com. You will have more in depth about what are the characteristics of child, what are the characteristics of adult, parent, and gremlin, okay? So before we start sharing with you what the process is about, do you have questions? Go ahead.
It's a bit of a random question. I am looking for some distinctions around gremlin and dragon speaking.
Great. So what is your question about it?
Yeah, any kind of distinction you could provide there to clarify, gremlin contamination in those contexts specifically, partly because I feel confused around it in the sense like dragon speaking is a very directly transformational intention. And gremlin is harnessed in that regard. So it's this place that I just feel tremendous doubt around and lack of clarity.
Have you ever been in a space with dragon speaking?
Yes.
Okay, what did you notice about this, the quality of the space?
Well, the energy was very bright. The energy was solid, and the energy of the delivery was solid and very strong. It was, anger was used in an adult manner, for sure.
There you go. It sounds like you have the distinction.
Well, then my gremlin's chewing on me afterwards, after, choosing to exercise in my voice in that regard.
Yeah.
As Vera
And-
said before, the gremlin has no boundaries. It can sneak into everything. So it can also sneak into your experience of your dragon.
Yeah.
And it can turn it upside down.
Yes.
So it can get you really tasty arguments of how what happened isn't real or it's not okay. So just remember your felt experience. Okay. Yeah. So can you sense the energetic signature or the quality of the space that you would get into when your gremlin starts saying these things?
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about it, like just the flavor of it?
It is devouring.
There you go. You have the distinction, Lisa. On one side, you said the space was clear, adult anger. It said what people said, what needed to be said, and the gremlin is devouring. That seems pretty clear. So I guess keep practicing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon, for the link. Tatiana, yes.
Yeah, I just wonder if I'm right that I'm somehow, for me, it's important that the emotions of all those ego states, I have those different kinds of emotional healing processes for the emotions of child and gremlin and demon and parent and so on. And here this decontamination process is about the behavior. It's not about the emotions, right?
So yes. So there's two parts of decontamination. As in any, I would say any major healing process, there are the part that is emotional healing, and then this part of practice. And some things are going to be cleared up with emotional healing processes, and some things require practice to ground the new decision or the new space. So, do you want to say it?
Yeah, also some behaviors will be, let's call it healed, will be healed by doing the emotional healing process about something where you were wounded, and out of this there came this behavior of the child or whatever. And so it can be healed by the process, and still there's the behavior. So sometimes it will be, we kind of go there later. I'm going to pick that up later again when we talk about the process, how it goes. There are signs for it when the healing process is needed.
Like, for example, for me, because I've been in a very constant constant spaces of transformation with other possibility managers and trainers, when I was doing the decontamination of my child or my gremlin, I didn't go through specific healing processes about the thing that I was working on. But for example, you did.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what spaces you're in. It can be that an initiation actually starts uncovering, like gives you space and matrix to do the practice already. And then there's ones that there's an emotional reactivity so attached to it that you might not be able to separate the ego, like decontaminate without going through the process. So this is how it's important for you and your buddy to start to really connect and have a felt sense. Okay, I think this is an emotional healing process. It's taking longer, or it's like it's really hard. Let's see where it is, where this comes from.
And also by doing more and more healing processes itself and creating more space in yourself for your adult and more matrix and all this stuff, you get closer to the moment when your contamination started. So it started at one point.
Yeah.
It started on one day. It started why ever it started. And by doing this, you come closer to why it started, and that's how it goes down, how the contamination just separates.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Any more questions about any of this so far? Okay, could you put your hand up if you have a partner for your process, for your decontamination? Right. So Eva, Louise, and Michelle, are you doing this process, the decontamination process? Okay. No.
Not started doing it.
Okay. But are you wanting to do it?
Yes.
I am wanting to do it.
Okay. Eva, what about you?
Yeah, I have actually a question. What's the difference between white widow decontamination and gremlin decontamination? Is there a difference?
So gremlin can use a lot of sexual energy as well. Like what we said about gremlin could just use any kind of behavior from any survival strategy. So for people who don't know, or have never heard of it, white widow is a box strategy. It's a way of you not being you and using sexual energy to be safe. There's a black widow strategy, which is to use sexual energy to destroy a space, someone else. Or then there's a white widow, which is for safety, for survival. And the point of the white widow is that you're not really being yourself when you're running sexual energy with whoever. So there's a process of, there's the white widow decontamination process, let's say, which I sometimes speak about, which you go for a whole year without running any kind of sexual energy with anyone. And if it's depending on your sexual orientation, no hand holding, no kissing, no cuddling, looking at the desired gender in the eye, and to really keep your energy in yourself. And maybe one of these days I'll do a talk solely on that. The decontamination of the gremlin is different in the sense that the gremlin will use bits of it, but it's not an automatism. The white widow is an automatism because it's a box strategy. The box is a dead machine. It's a program. And your gremlin is it's kind of the active part of your box.
It's also very alive in his ways of choosing how to deal with different situations.
Yeah. And so if you're doing a big practice like the white widow, I would recommend to not do the gremlin at the same time. Okay, to just really separate these fields. You could do white widow and child because they're a little bit more easier to separate or parent. But really the gremlin should be, I would recommend to do on its own, because it's a sneaky and creative part of you that deserves your full attention. Okay, go ahead, Tatiana.
You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, Sophia-Magdalena, could you also say some short words about your decontamination process? So what was it about? What was your decontamination about?
Yes, I I had the main contamination or the biggest was my child being enmeshed with my adult to, I don't know, almost 90%. I was one of those people who were basically their own child. And
You even had a name for it.
yeah, I have a name. I gave my child part a name so I could better distinguish between me and her. And she's called Anastasia. And she's, yeah, she was there and I worked with her. And when I got when I worked with a huge part of this contamination, I started to find out the gremlin in that. So it was when after a long while of just working with her, I found the gremlin in that whole enmeshment. And for me, but that's my personal way, it was really important to do the emotional healing process because a lot of Anastasia was just there to protect me. It was basically because there was a wound, it wasn't healed. And I didn't know how to relate to people in a different way. I didn't know.
I want to tell you a legend about this process. It's a legend about Sophia-Magdalena, actually. So she made an agreement, a pirate agreement with 3 other trainers that for a whole week, 7 days, whenever she had an emotion, like about anything, like I dropped the knife, I forgot about this, she would call one of these 4 people and go through an emotional healing process. So in 1 week, you stop counted, but there were more than 20 something. So, and this was what was needed. And well, this was what was needed, so this, to really start, okay, this is also for my child. Gosh, this is also for my child. Oh, this is also for my child. And at some point she got so pissed off, so pissed off. It's like, it's all for my child. And she continued. She didn't have to have so many afterwards.
Yeah. It was, it was really a huge pile for me of emotions to go through with my child. And yeah, it pissed me off. And after that experience, I had a place to stay on in my adult state.
Yeah, and this is important because
Yeah.
until a certain percentage of your adult ego state you can grab onto, it's more difficult to do this by yourself. Okay, so she had to, it was almost like it was a survival, like life or death, basically, for Sophia-Magdalena. She had to just create enough percentage of free adult space and grab onto it so that she could continue then going like, okay, now I can do this. I don't have to go through 4 emotional healing processes just for this behavior. So you might in yourself have that much percentage, but you also might hold space for someone else like that. So just be with them. They might need something to grab onto.
Because we're there, it kind of comes out. What is, especially for the child, a main procedure in that whole process is the grief about what's happening, about what has happened. So what led me to be at this point, and of what I let go of. It's really take your time to grieve from those behaviors. Take your time to say goodbye, because it's a part dying inside. And in order to take the next step, just take your time and say goodbye. And also, if you work with other people, just let them grieve.
Yeah. That they can value and appreciate that saved their lives.
Really, and see the awesomeness and the tricks and the brilliance of your child have been saving all your life. And it might come out like every day, 20 minutes. It might come out that for 3 days you're just crying, or just you're not going insane. It's just what's needed, because the child is very, very
Vulnerable?
vulnerable. Thank you.
Vulnerable.
So yeah, give it time and do not rush through it. That's really just a hard advice from my experience, is to really let it flow, let the tears roll. And maybe also when you have your body, check in with your grief.
Your buddy.
Your body, yes, your body. If you have your body, the first thing you do is, I'm sad because I just realized I did those offers since 23 years.
Okay, and let it be with that.
Yeah.
Ingrid, you have a question? Yeah.
Yes, no, not really a question. You said at the beginning that you don't know somebody who has in his adult ego state gremlin mixed with parent ego state. I think I have mixed it with parent ego state, and I just want to, yeah, I'm the eldest of 7 sisters and brothers, and I worked with this with Shannon. I made a healing process with Shannon. I had when I was 5 years old, I was pushed in a situation where I had to have too much responsibility for a 5-year-old, and I think there, from this point on, there is something like a parent ego state, which took a certain place in a certain in my life, and it's still there, and I think it's still there. So for me, I have the feeling gremlin parent ego state is mixed in, and this is in a way showing up by a tendency of being right.
So thank you, Ingrid, for bringing that piece, because so there's the part of the box who always tries to be right because it needs to defend itself. And then there's the parent ego state, which is the criticizing or praising. Criticizing or praising. You should do this. You should not do this. And it could be that you have totally enmeshed in your adult ego state, you have parent ego state. That means that whenever you're trying to be an adult, it will come out as parent, a bit of it. That's what it means. Or it could be that in your gremlin enmeshment, your gremlin is using parenting ego state technology. Okay, so it's you who's going to find out, and basically to notice, okay, this was the criticism. This is the criticizing parent. Okay, put it out. What would an adult look like right now for what I want? Okay, and then you can see, is this my box reacting to something of how I think things should be? Because the box there's a lot of shoulds in the box. There's a lot of assumptions and projection conclusions. And so it could be that that it's something in your environment is questioning that assumption. And so then the parent ego state comes in to protect it. And the gremlin ego state comes in to protect it. And it might not be enmeshment necessarily. So you're going to have to navigate. You do an emotional healing process about it, and you do the decontamination process about it. Yeah. Shall we explain how it goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
yeah. Is there any questions before?
yeah, before we explain how it goes directly, I just want to say this whole process is a lot about self-observation and about the body, like your physical body and its movements. So lots of parts from also the contamination are mirrored by your physical body. The way you stand, the way you talk, the way you put your arms, the way you go through your hair, this are all signs for decontamination.
Yeah, the voice is really a big key. Really, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I basically had a totally different voice a while ago.
Me too. And the other day I saw old videos of myself with you and they were just very different. Okay,
Yeah,
will you explain it?
I will explain it. Okay.
Okay.
So we didn't explain the three things. So
Go ahead.
anyway, with the three things.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have chosen one behavior. You have chosen one behavior. And that might be, for example, what I just did.
Oh, wait, do you have to say the list first?
So I go for the list first.
List number one, step number one. You will create a list of three things. Three things that are your three main behaviors. So for me, it was please save me. I name it as please save me, but it wasn't this energetic thing about this, like, just you have the answer for me, or like fix this. I would say things, I would say things in a room like, I'm cold, and then nothing, so like just, but the attitude behind is do it for me. It's like this victim like sentence. So I wrote down as please save me. Then I had a second one, which was it's like would you please, it's like when I would ask for something from someone that I would give, that I would have, I would consider them higher authority or external authority figure. It would be this subservience, like, may I please be in your company or something like this. I would just make myself smaller. So I put being small. I named it being small. So this is also what you do with your buddy. You go through the things, like, what is it that I do? And your buddy is going to help you refine it into a title of the thing. It could be a name as well, or a character.
And I had, for example, something like, I would always ask someone else, someone across from me, I would ask, what would you do? What would you do in this and that kind of situation? And another thing I had is very small. When I was in a joke or in a funny situation, I would respond when I actually wanted to say no. I would say 9.
Wow, I didn't remember that.
Yeah. And my third part was, I would stand in front of someone I considered as someone bigger than me or more matrix or whatever. I would have a certain way of standing.
And then on the gremlin side, because this is just child side, there is one could be, for example, if you notice that you cannot be in a space where feelings arrive without having a smile, like a constant smile, or you have like an answer in your head. What was my first thing was like arguing. My first was this argumentative, like my argumentative self. Get feedback, someone would say something and I would have to fight it.
Or making a joke when you're scared or angry. Instead of saying I'm scared or angry, making a joke.
It could be something as simple as, because it's an energetic thing, but it comes out in a physical expression as, really? Oh, I love this. And it just changes the whole space. So I have a trainer friend who she puts this mask on, and it's this joker face, but she doesn't create a joke or create humor. She just does this in the space. She makes the space seem that we shouldn't believe in it. Or so you're gonna really have to, like, all of your gremlins are so unique and will find things that are insane. So I would like to know, actually, we should make a website only about that so that people start having some more examples.
And write them all down.
Right, I'm writing that one down.
Okay,
Go.
I keep on talking about how it goes and
do it.
you write that. So we had this list of 3 things you do, and then you choose one of them. The rest just stays on your list for the coming. So you can basically forget about it for a while because you have it written down. So you choose one of it. And maybe it's something like this. You do this body thing when you shrink and you hear something from a person across from you that you don't like, and you want to say, no, I'm not going to do it. So what the process is every time you catch yourself doing, no, I'm not going to do it, you take out energetically this behavior.
So you stop.
You
First
stop.
you
Yeah,
stop.
you stop totally.
Yeah.
You pause. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And then you take out energetically this behavior, in this case from your arms, and it might be painful. That's fine. Just take it all out. And then either on your right or on your left side, there's your pile of gremlin or child. Or parent. And with your attention and your anger, you hold it from pulling it out. You hold it there. You hold it where it belongs for minimum 1 minute. With your attention and your anger. And while you're holding it,
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, yes. While you're holding it, take a deep breath. Keep being centered, keep holding it, and do a do-over from your adult. And say, no, I'm not going to do that. For example.
Yeah, that was the specific example from the no. Okay.
You just do a do-over from your adult, from whatever behaviors is, from what actually wanted to show up.
Yeah, and so you have to figure out, so it could be like a smile, or it could be please save me, or a request. You do a do-over with the same person in front of you. You just stop and like, just give me a minute. I just need to do something, or don't even explain to them. Just give me a minute. And you do that. You know, you push that to the side, you hold that, center yourself, and you look at that person, and you do from an adult ego state. And you're going to need your anger for this, because you need your anger to hold your center and to hold the thing to the side, the behavior to the side. And it is just as simple as this. It's really just this. Stop, breathe, move, hold, do over. Stop, breathe, hold, do over. And it's so simple. You just have to do it every single time. And actually after 3-4 times, I mean, it could take a little bit longer in my experiences, but after 3-4 times, it might not come back.
Yeah. And also if it comes back like 3 minutes after.
Yeah. Just
like
do it again.
It just is back on, and you just do it again.
Yeah.
And there's something what can happen when you hold it to your side. And this is that you hold it to your side, and it's like a glue jumping back inside of you. It's like sucked back. And then you just keep on holding it again, and it sucks back. Don't worry, write it down and call someone and do emotional healing process. That's a sign that there is a healing process needed.
And so this is the process that you're going to do in your life, that you're going to practice in your life. And if you're in a space where, actually scratch that. If you're going, when we're doing this process with your buddy, it could be really helpful to tell him, like, this happened with my boss, or this happened with my best friend, or this, because it's part of your noticing. It sharpens your noticing skills. And then also you're giving some clarity to your buddy to support you better. And also, you don't know, but it could also be super like an amazing clarity in gold for them or their process too. And so after a couple of weeks, let's say 3 weeks most likely, more or less, the behavior should be gone. So it takes about 2-3 weeks each behavior, but that's why you need to focus on one at a time. Other ones will come like, oh, I just noticed that my gremlin did this. Just write it down. Just write it down, but don't do anything about it. Just let it happen, write it down. Write all of them down until the one that you worked on is gone. And then you are the one who chooses what's the next one, okay? Any questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, could you repeat the part with the holding it to where? I thought maybe I put it into my gremlin that is sitting beneath me.
Yeah, you put it in the gremlin ego state where it belongs. The way that we do it was just, we take it out and to put it on the side.
And it's like a pile. Before you start, you can close your eyes. You can close your eyes and sense into on which side is your pile, your bucket of gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your pile of child? And if it's on your right side, it stays on your right side.
Okay, and it's like Gefühle trennen, like with the feelings.
No.
Putting on a shelf and no?
No, it's, you grab it. So like everybody, just let's do that. Like think about one thing that your gremlin or your child ego state do. One behavior. Is it always having an answer? Is it making a joke? Is it overwhelm, having overwhelm?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, stuff like that, yes.
Okay, everybody at the same time, just grab on to the behavior itself. If it's like closer to your head or your chest, just put your hands around it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, and now move it. Just move it, keep your attention there, move it to one side. Yeah, keep the hands there. Yeah, yeah, keep the hands there. When you're ready, open your eyes and keep the hands there still. So you're splitting your attention when you do that. Yeah, keep going, keep going. Let the tension of your arms be there. Let a little bit of pain in your arms be there. Okay. When everybody's ready, open your eyes and look at the screen. So you now have some of your attention in the tension of your arms and some of the attention in the screen. This is, take a picture, because this is what you're going to need to then do a do-over. Okay. So then what you would do is, either hold it with one hand or two, you would then do a do-over. Okay. But you need to keep the anger on one side and on yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
With the no, correct?
Well, the no was only for that example of,
Okay.
because the behavior was like, I don't want to do this. And it's
Okay.
instead of saying a clear, no, I'm not going to do this, it was a child reaction.
When you, for example, have in your
I
gremlin
understood.
a smile coming up in the moment when you're actually angry, you would say, well, you hold the smile, you would say, I am angry because.
If the smile is about anger.
Yes, so it
Got it.
really matters of what it is about.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's
Okay.
about fear or whatever.
Okay.
And I'm just
Did I-
piling it up and leaving it there.
Yes,
And
where
that's
it belongs. It belongs in that state.
You know,
okay.
you're gonna have all your ego states. We have all parts, and your child ego state will always be a part of you, as your gremlin ego state, as your adult ego state. And it's not about getting rid of it or throwing it away. It's just about putting it back into the right ego state.
Mm.
So in the end, you can access your child or your gremlin ego state and use it consciously and jump in there. But that's not possible as long as it's contaminated.
Annie, you had a question.
Yeah. What struck me is that that inner one. I have well, two things. One is I seem to have a box aspect of confusion, but you had said that confusion, there's like to take the confusion out, but that's not an ego state. So I'm very eager to, get over this confusion thing, and I don't know how.
Yeah. So Annie, the confusion has a benefit. What is the benefit of your confusion?
I think she's gone.
I lower my own expectations.
Yeah.
And then I get help. So that sounds like child ego state.
Yeah. So it uses it could be that it's an emotional healing process as well, because it seems like it's a big part of your box, not just a small. And so it could be helpful to ask someone to take you through an emotional healing process to check out what are the commitments that you did to be confused. And it's also a use of unconscious anger. Confusion is an unconscious expression of anger. Okay, so there could be something attached to your anger, like you couldn't be angry, so you're confused instead. Okay, but check it out. This is just hints from experiences. Yours could be very unique and totally different. Okay.
The other thing is the inner "you can't make me."
There you go.
And that was a thing that when I was a child, that was like, something that was affronting to me. I dig in, but I noticed like from a bunch of my adulthood, I would want myself to do something and I dig in. You can't make me.
Yeah.
Is that also the same? Or they seem related now that I say them out loud together?
Well, you need to check it out for yourself. Like, this happens still for you? Like, what situations? And then also for your buddies. So when you meet with your buddy and you're trying to distill what's the next thing or what are the three things, it's really helpful for your buddy to ask you, where does it show up more? With whom? In what situations? And you can even do a role play. Like then if I'm the buddy, I become the boss, or I become a person, and then I talk from that energy, and you can really see it more clearly. And then you can have the person practice, okay, this is what an adult do-over could look like. So you can coach them to do this. So to really try to start noticing, observe yourself more in which circumstances, what are the sentences that come up, okay? And really slow down the process. Because what we notice is that it could be that your box is having an emotional reaction, and then comes your gremlin ego state to protect it. And then there's another reaction on top. And then it's going to go really fast, and you're trying to get through one layer or try to fix everything. So my recommendation when these things happen is to go really slow and do the layer that is more at the surface, the one that is there, instead of trying to go for the thing that is deeper. Is just one at a time.
Yeah, the rest will come up itself by doing the whole process.
Yeah.
Like combing long hair, you always start at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't start from here.
And
yeah.
I'm just checking the time.
Yeah, I wanted to say that also.
Okay, thank you.
And just please be aware, if you start this process, your gremlin won't like it. Your child won't like it. They will do anything in their power to make you stop.
Oh yeah.
Particularly if you're doing the gremlin decontamination, particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's your decision. It's your decision. Just be aware that this can happen and that you might have to wrestle with yourself a lot.
And also to not beat yourself up.
Yeah.
You're going to have if you're going to have this fella in your back going like, why are you doing this? And it's not, you know, like giving you all these amazing arguments. And then you go like, give him a cookie and go like, wow, you should be a lawyer, and then do something else. You know, just listen and then you make the decision.
Yeah, and say thank you for the information or something.
Yeah.
It's be in connection with yourself. It's mainly that, and with your parts.
And again, really initiate, like really do the gremlin diet. That would be before doing the decontamination. Okay, because you need to start noticing what is your gremlin like. When is your gremlin acting right now, so that you can notice when it's subtly, when it's not so subtle, and when it's just him showing up, or when it's the contamination. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I would say we close the space and then we stay around for. So this is, you can ask a quick question like afterwards. So this is the official end of this question and answer, and we stick around for a little longer so you can ask some more questions. But for those who have to go, thank you for showing up and being in the space and being interested for that really important part of our lives.
And also we're available for more questions, support. And also if you're doing this emotional healing, this decontamination process, and you need support through emotional healing processes, or how to support someone through emotional healing processes, we're also available for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ingrid.
I just wanted to ask, is there a reason why the first step, the list of 3 things, these are only 3 things? I have the feeling I have a lot of things I could put on the list.
It's actually just what we said before. It's your child, for example, will be overwhelmed if you give it too much in the beginning. It needs care. It needs being comforted in this process. If you overwhelm it, and if you overwhelm your gremlin, it just gets stronger and will try to stop you.
And also, I mean, this is not a rule. It's a recommendation that I got passed down by actually different people, but that one cannot really commit to more than 3 practices at the same time. And if you're committing to more than 3 things, 3 big things at the same time, then it's probably your gremlin strategy, so that you're not fulfilling them, you're not completing them. Okay, so just that's why we say 3. You can still write down behaviors, as if you're scared of forgetting them, just write them down, but just really go through one at a time, have a list of top 3. Okay.
And the great part about it, the behaviors won't go away. So even if you forgot about them, they will come back and they will show you that they were in the life. So
it's true.
They will be there, and you can write them down whenever they come present again.
Yes. One thing also that I want to say is that those behaviors are not bad.
Yeah.
And there will be, once they're decontaminated, there will be part of your tool belt. So you will be able to use them as skills and tools, and not as the automatic thing that you do without thinking for survival. So I had one which was this chameleonic nature. I could speak in so many different accents, and I would very easily adopt people's like little ways of like moving or saying something or posture. It's like super easy for me to just like morph. So I use it consciously, but I don't, as a person can have these characteristics. And now I notice like, I'm not automatically adapting to it.
And we all have different kinds of that. It's really precious. I can do the same thing with movements, with dancing stuff. And yeah, really take it as the pressure it is. And you all will have different crazy things you can do really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
wait,
have another question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So is it okay to just choose 3 behaviors that are maybe the most annoying? And is it not so important to know exactly, is this gremlin or child at the first place? So, no, I should ask differently. Is it important to do the gremlin part first and all the gremlin behaviors, and then the child and all the child behaviors? Or is it okay just to choose 3 behaviors and it doesn't matter if it's a gremlin one or a child one or enmeshed even? And
Okay.
yeah.
It is important, I would say, that you know which behavior belongs to which ego state, so you can put it in the right where it belongs. Like, not,
Okay. I have a different answer to this.
yeah.
Which part of you wants to mix them?
And which part of me wants to mix them?
Yeah, wants to, is asking this question, Sophia.
I'm not so clear about if it's my gremlin or child, many of the behaviors. And so I just started to do a list, and I'm not sure if there's parent ego state and demon ego state even mixed in. And so I don't have so much clarity about that yet.
So one way of not having clarity is mixing things. So you just ask, is it important to not mix things, while saying that you have mixed up things in your ego states? So I don't have a rule about it. I'm not going to say, oh, you should do this. What I'm noticing is that the kind of the answer is in your question somehow. So if there are going to be consequences if you choose to, I'm going to do something like this, I'm going to do something like this, and there will be, which will going to be different. And so experiment and tell us.
Okay, I'll think about this, your answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Vera and Sophia-Magdalena, could you share your contact numbers in case we have any questions, or I have any questions, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I don't know yours by heart. So. What? Okay, I think, Devin, did you have a question?
It was similar to Tatiana's question. And there is also something else I'm curious about. So, Vera, when you were talking about your please save me thing, I can see a bunch of different behaviors possibly attached to an energy like that, or similar energies in me. And I guess the question is, with that, are you still just working on the whole please save me energy, or are you working on just the, okay, every time I go into this energy, I use this voice, so I'm just like working on removing this voice?
Yeah, thank you. That's an important question, because decontaminating your adult ego state does not substitute the initiations for growing up, or being anchored in your adult ego state. Actually, they go side by side. So I've been working on growing up, meaning leaving all of the different ego states, all of my survival strategies, and become a more adult person since already more than 4 years ago, and doing different initiations. And so this part of the contamination was when I realized I did all these initiations, I did all these processes, I took my center back from my father, I did the growing up process. And so I really like changed my relationship with my parents. I was not hooked so much on who they are, and like I didn't blame them for my bullshit so much. But then I still had this, for example, I would be in a training with Clinton, and I'd still kind of be small, like, and okay, so this is not, it's not this, it's a leftover, or it's not a big initiation.
And an
Okay,
echo.
so yeah, and or an echo. It could also be an echo of the past. So it's really, I mean, I would say that all of it is about growing up. And this part it's just one of the processes. This please save me was the embodied physical and energetic aspect that I needed to practice. So I did all of these initiations, I did all these emotional healing processes, but I still needed to ground and root and also to consciously discover what it is like to express as an adult. So the opportunity to do a do-over without knowing, like, how is an adult supposed to go? Like, I mean, I didn't know, but what I did was I was committed to doing a do-over. And I discovered what is my adult. So I don't know actually if I'm answering your question, but I would say that it's an overall yes. It's always the big growing up that I'm working on.
May I add to that answer, or actually question?
Wait a second, Michelle.
Like-
Devin, what part of
Yeah.
did I not answer, or is there something missing that I'm?
Let me see. It does. I did have an experience of you answering a different question, and I think I'm satisfied with that.
Okay. Well, if the question comes up again, please ask. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Then Michelle and then Luis.
I'm interested. So I've had the same experience with Clinton. So I'm interested in an example of during a training, what that looked like, how you were able to decontaminate the I'm making myself small and perhaps a do-over. I'm very interested in that, if it's possible.
You're gonna answer. We're recovering rescuers. So there's a part of me that it would not be a service to you if I told you how it goes. What I can do is say that by doing this process, you will discover your own way. And it's really about the commitment to really recognize, oh shit, I'm being small again. Or, oh God, I'm again deferring to this, like to a man or even to a woman or to whoever it is. And to decide, I am not going to do that, and then you can see, okay, I have an emotion about it. Take me through an emotional healing process. So basically what my key was, I am so committed to not do that, to not be small in front of anybody. And it's not perfect. And I'm still here. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
No, really.
Thank you.
It's your decision and it's your own path.
Thank you, Michelle. Luis?
Yes, this is a life work, right? Ego states keep coming back, or not really the same, but there are ego states that are behind other ego states. Am I right?
It's not about getting rid of your ego states. So the ego states will stay, but it's about separating them and have them, every single one, in their full power.
And also, Luis, like check out the part of your box that wants to, that is like set on this goal, on this, the best thing is the adults and it's the archetypal, and that's where you want to go. And I can recognize that in you. And what part of you is committed so like that, in a way that archetypal is good and ego state is bad. So like you need your child ego state to also recognize other people's child ego state. You need your child ego state to not burn out, to not have a burnout. Like I recognize when I'm super tired or I'm exhausted, all I want to do is like cuddle up, and my emotional state is like, the world is so tiring and bad. And so I just like, my child ego state, I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to get a cuddle. It's not like I'm a bad person because I'm not this adult superwoman. It's just,
it would be a perfect world if we could be the adult superwoman and man for 24 hours a day. And that is a fantasy.
yeah. So check your fantasies.
Thank
And also
you.
because you support clients, you have clients, right? So how you perceive that archetypal is good and emotion is bad, they will also get it. Okay, they will start getting this by osmosis almost from you. So just check in your assumption about good and bad.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I think that's
I
it.
think that seems good.
This was really, really, really great, powerful, and very well explained. Appreciate it for such a complex thing. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And
Very
I
clear.
really like to, send us your experiments as well. What is the characteristic? If you have a sharing about it, I really want to create a website about this.
Yeah, and also your troubles.
So we send it straight direct to you, or are you going to have a group? Is there a group? I'm not
No,
aware. Okay.
There isn't a group yet.
Okay.
You're free to create one and you can send it directly to our contacts.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We will gather them together.
Okay. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Bye.
really wishing you the best of luck. And if you are, if you're feeling resistant, or if you're just getting this, it's not working, or, whatever it is that keeps you isolated from this process, you can reach out to us.
Yeah. When it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming.
And I really hope that you get to learn how to do this so that you can also do it to others. So you can also be the people for others and teach them how to do it. Connecting a team of healers, healing healers, healing healers, healing healers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, eventually healing people who aren't healers too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Have a great evening, day.
Thank you.
Evening day. I love it.